This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley is not a happy man. His job as a phone operator for a large corporation requires him to produce synthetic enthusiasm and concern for the angered customers from whom he receives complaints day after day after day. This bores Stanley beyond the measure of any scale. However, the boredom of his job will no longer torment Stanley, as he is now unemployed. However, Stanley was not alone. He had Sarah. But not for long.
Hello?
Hey, Sarah, it's me, Stanley.
Yeah, what is it?
Hey, look, I'm sorry about last night. I can start looking for a new job tomorrow, and we can forget this ever happened.
Stanley, it was a big wake-up call.
What do you mean?
I mean, this is it for us.
Can we talk about it over lunch?
Stanley, it's over. We're done. We've been done. I'll come pick up my stuff when I get off work.
He only wanted everything to go back to the way things were last night. The job didn't matter, but Sarah was all he ever wanted and more. And the ache of needing her there at his side was more than he could bear for much longer. He wondered if there could be a slight chance that she would even have the patience to listen to him. He had one last hope. But would she accept him? There was a shortcut, and Stanley knew it quite well, but Stanley was too intimidated to see Sarah so immediately. So Stanley sat in the traffic. Stanley was getting closer and closer to his goal. He would win her back.
Sarah,
Stanley? What are you doing here?
what are you doing with him?
I told you, it's over.
Who is he? Explain this to me.
Hey.
Sarah, you okay? What's it out here so you can do your stuff.
Stanley watched his true love walk out of his life forever. Stanley had nothing. Absolutely nothing. He suddenly realized he had nothing to hold on to. Nobody to love him. Nothing to stop him. Stanley looked over the edge, certain of ending the pain. Stanley took one last breath. And then Stanley jumped. As he plummeted, he realized that this was the way things were meant to be. The cold, hard concrete shattered his every bone, effectively rendering Stanley as dead as his soul had been. Just as there had been no more job and no more Sarah, there was now no more Stanley. Oh, Stanley, this is not how the story ends. The story ends the way I say it ends. If you can't make the right decisions, we will just have to start from the beginning. Let's try again, shall we? This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley is not a happy man. His job as a phone operator for a large corporation requires him to produce synthetic enthusiasm and concern for the angered customers from whom he receives complaints day after day after day.
Hello?
Sarah, it's me. I was thinking we should talk about this over lunch.
Stanley, it's over.
Listen, Sarah, we need to talk about this. Last night was... We can just... Look, I'm coming to pick you up, and we're gonna have lunch, and we're gonna make it work.
Stanley, wait.
Stanley, what do you think you are doing? This is not how I meant for this to happen.
Stanley, what are you doing?
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley is not...
Shut up! What's happening?
Stanley, it's terribly rude to interrupt someone when they are speaking. This story's introduction is important to the plot of the story, and I would like to at least begin the story properly.
What story?
This story. It will all make sense if you do exactly as I tell you. This is the story of a fat, good-for-nothing coward named Stanley. Stanley is worthless. He spends each day at his dead-end job doing absolutely nothing. For poor Stanley simply does not have the mental capacity to handle a big boy job. Now, his situation would not be quite so deplorable if he at least had a pretty girl with whom to spend his days. But that pretty, intelligent, kind, incredible girl had finally gathered her wits and abandoned the imbecile on whom she'd wasted the past 3 years of her life. Like his parents used to say to him, Stanley was a complete and utter failure. There was a shortcut, and Stanley knew it quite well, but Stanley was too afraid to see Sarah so immediately. So Stanley sat in the traffic. Stanley, what are you doing? Stanley, this is not how it works.
So stop me!
Oh, don't worry, I will. I don't think you comprehend exactly what I can do. Stanley, stop it. Come back. Stanley, stop it. I must warn you, Stanley. This is not what you want. I should know. I don't think you realize what you are doing. You know, honestly, I'm tired of this setting. It's dreadfully boring. Cliché. Let's spice things up, shall we?
No!
That won't help you, Stanley.
No! Please help me!
This isn't helping anyone, Stanley, especially not you.
What do you want?
I want to finish this story.
Just get out of my head!
Now that is where you are very wrong, Stanley. You are in my head.
What are you talking about?
You are an idea, a figment of my imagination. A story, Stanley, no more. You are nothing.
Why do you want me to finish the story?
Because it's my story, and I intend to end it properly. You do what I want, what I tell you to do, because I created you. But you have ruined this story once again. So we will have to start from the beginning. I do not have the time to watch you struggle through this story all day. Every story has an end. That is a fact you cannot escape. Why do you even insist on continuing to win back Sarah?
She was the only thing that I had left.
You know how this ends. You're just running around in circles. Stanley, look at the mess you've made. You have destroyed my story beyond recognition. You know, in the beginning I believed in you. I believed you would finish my story properly. Now I can see that your only intention is to disregard everything I'm trying to tell you. I am only trying to help you, Stanley. Your decisions have crippled my ability to tell the story of your pathetic little life.
What does that make Sarah?
Sarah? Why, she's even less important than you. At least I created this world with you in mind, not her. She's less than nothing, Stanley.
What about my life? My childhood?
It doesn't exist. It's just simply a manifestation of my subconscious to make the story seem more natural to my mind. Everything you ever did isn't real. None of it is real. Can't you see that? You don't even know what you and Sarah fought about. You don't even know where you are. Think about it. You have one purpose.
I just want it to end. Now.
Are you certain? I trust you will make the right decision. Goodbye, Stanley. There is always more than one side to every story. To Stanley, his tale was a tragedy, a struggle between man and his maker. To Sarah, Stanley's tale was a pathetic and insignificant chapter of her life. But what about my story, you ask? Well, my little pawn, it's your story, so it's your call, isn't it? You have control over your story and your life, right? But let me warn you, appearances can be deceiving. This is the story of a woman named Michelle. Michelle was returning from a long day at work, but her walk home was interrupted by shouting from the top of a parking structure. She'd shaken it off and kept walking, but she froze in horror upon hearing the undeniable thud of a man meeting concrete. She will run for help momentarily. She was stunned into silence and stillness, but it was not the body that disturbed her. It was the thought that no one would know his story, and no one will know exactly what happened to this man. So she stood there for only a moment before she ran.